Hello everyone, this is Anwar الزاهي from Smart English. Let's get started to deal with this speaking task number 3. I think that some of you are struggling with this task number 3 because he sees that it's very difficult and he has some difficulties with this question. But after explaining this question, I promise you that you will be professional and doing or carrying this task efficiently and quickly. Okay, let's have a look about the whole question at first. This is the style of the question you will be seen in the test today. Direction: you will now read a short passage and then listen to a lecture on the same topic. You will then be asked a question about the passage. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. Okay, let's illustrate what is here in this direction. At first, you will see a passage like this here. Okay, as you see now on the screen, this is the passage that you will have in the test today. Okay, after that, you will listen to a lecture as seen here on the same topic. Okay, it may be economical topic, it may be social, maybe psychological, biological topic, whatever it was. Okay, now he give you just only 30 seconds to prepare your answer. Okay, and you have only 45 seconds to read the passage below. This is very crucial and serious task here because you have a limited time to take out notes from this passage. So the first thing you will have to do at first, that you read silently this passage. After you read the passage, you have to take notes. Two reasons mentioned here in the passage about this type of leadership, whatever it was the definition in this topic. Okay, again and again to repeat everything to illustrate and explain efficiently. Number one, you will have a passage, then you will listen to a lecture. The passage is about a certain topic, a definition in psychology, it may be biology, whatever it was in economy, it doesn't matter. Okay, you have to read this passage quietly and very quickly to take out notes. The first reason and second reason, and I will illustrate this now. After that, you have to prepare yourself in just only 30 seconds, no more than that. Okay, after that, you have to speak just for 60 seconds to speak, no more than 1 minute. I think it's very difficult for some of you, but after practicing, he will gradually be qualified to answer this question efficiently and quickly. Now, we will read this passage to take notes after reading this passage. Let's get started. Types of leadership. This is the definition. He is explaining kinds of leaderships. Every day we come across leaders in school, businesses, and life, and each has their own unique approach to managing others. The way people use their power and authority differs from persons to persons. But there are some recurring patterns in business theory. There are two main types of leaders: instrumental and expressive. Instrumental leaders are very demanding individuals. Leaders of this type expect their employees to be professional and focused on work rather than on relationships with their colleagues. In contrast, expensive leaders are concerned about employee well-being. They believe stronger relationships and a positive work environment improve a group's overall productivity. Okay, this is the passage. So now we have two types here in this kind of leaderships. The first one is instrumental and the second one is expressive. They are the two types. The first example mentioned by the writer here is instrumental leader are very demanding and the professional to focus on relation instead of relation in colleagues. This is number one. This is the example number one. In contrast, it means that he will put another contrasting idea comparing it to the previous one. The expressive leadership, here is the other reason. Okay, let's get it another yellow or maybe blue color. Okay, these are the two types or the details that mentioned into the lecture. What I have to do now: number one, you have to listen carefully to this audio, and after you listen to the audio, you have to take notes while listening. Do not neglect any small items mentioned by the lecturer comparing to the passage mentioned here in the screen or seen in the screen. Let's listen to this audio to take notes about it.
Okay, so you may have never heard of the terms instrumental and expressive before when it comes to leadership, but I bet you could think of a couple people who fit these descriptions. Now, I used to have a part-time job working as a waitress at a restaurant. I had a boss named Bill who was a typical instrumental leader. Not only was he good at managing his business, but he also had extensive experience as a waiter. He had high standards in the way we treated customers, and he expected all of us to do the same. The waiters were almost completely forbidden to speak with one another while at work, even when we didn't have any customers. He felt that if we focused on our tasks and the customers, not on each other, we wouldn't get distracted or become lazy. He did have a successful restaurant, but there were certainly other approaches he could have taken that weren't so strict. You know, my boss right now is Professor Green, the head of the department. She really knows how to treat the university staff with respect. While there are rules we have to follow and deadlines we must meet, she hardly ever pressures us. She treats us like adults, and we, the teaching staff, all do our jobs to the best of our abilities because we don't want to disappoint or upset her. She holds weekly staff meetings so we can communicate about problems in class and even holds parties at her home once a month. We all feel like a part of an open and honest team, and that would not be possible without her expressive type of leadership.
Okay, as you listened now from this lecture, the girl stated that too many things. And by the way, I'd like to illustrate or explain something very serious here in this point. You should include your answer for this question, task number 3 in a speaking task, TOEFL Ibt. You have to include that you are like a teacher and explaining something to others. If you manage to do this task as if you are a teacher, you will succeed in answering this question. So what I want to make sure about this or assure about it is you have to use the style or the strategy as if you are a teacher or explaining something to others. If you use this strategy, if you make your character in this question as a teacher, you will manage to answer this question efficiently and quickly. Okay? After you listen to this audio, it's obvious that the girl in the lecture mentioned that there is 2 types of leaderships. It was instrumental, and she gave an example, a clear example, when she was a waitress in a part-time job after university. She was under the authority of one of the supervisors. He was very strict and always gives instructions. And this is good for the work, but maybe affects negatively on their psychological state, okay? So she thinks that it was very firm and strict to them. On the contrary, he was a successful leader, okay? On the other hand, she stated that or mentioned another example, okay, in this audio. She mentioned that her professor at university, Miss Green, she was very kind, the professor. She works as a teamwork. They are collaborating with each other without any restrictions and has an expressive leadership. So now, these 2 examples mentioned into the audio, you have to restate them again as a teacher explaining something to others. So number 1, you have to read the passage carefully, take out 2 reasons, put them in your paper, okay? Number 2, you have to listen to the lecture and take notes while listening. 2 examples mentioned into the audio related to the passage. You have to mention all of them to have a very good form of your structure in answering this question. So now we have here a kind of template that you can use in your exam or test day. You have to practice well. So as you see now, here is the template. And what is the content of this template and the timing for you, okay, here. Let's have a look on this template, basic template. According to the reading, and you have to mention here the topic. As an example, the types of leadership and give the definition to leadership. It's a kind of ordering and giving instructions to others to control the work. This is an introduce the reading topic, give a definition to the topic. This should be in 10 seconds, no more than that, okay? Let's move on to the next step. You have to state in the lecture that the professor delves deeper and into the subject by providing an example of the two examples of the topic of the expressive and instrumental leadership, okay? And you have to use a transitional sentence here between the introductory sentence and the next one, okay? So make sure that you have a transition sentence. Okay, if you mentioned the first example here, you have to say that to start, and this is maybe instead of first, initially, something like this. The lecturer explains that the instrumental leader is blah, 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 okay? And you have to state the first example mentioned by the woman in the lecture. She stated that there is an instrumental leader, and she mentioned her supervisor into the restaurant that she works into a part-time job during her university studies, okay? He was very firm, strict, he always gave instructions, but instead of that, he was a successful supervisor, okay? Don't take more than 12 seconds, okay, for giving these examples. After that, you have to go further and delve deeper and deeper to make the idea very clear in the listener or the reader. So you have to use this sentence. He or she goes on to say, okay, and give expanded information to the second example, okay? State the second example. Okay, you have to say that she mentioned Professor Green that she taught her at university. She was a very expressive leader. She takes them as a collaborative team. They work to communicate with others without restrictions, without problems. And you have to give details and support your idea just only in 20 or maybe 22 seconds here, and give details here, okay? After that, if you have a time, you have to make a conclusion. This conclusion sentence should be included with this statement. So after listening, I now have a better understanding of what the leaders is, or the types of leader is, okay? Provide a conclusion to the topic. It may be 5 seconds, no more than that, okay? This is the style or the basic template. You can make a screenshot for this and use it after this. But what I want to tell you to answer this question efficiently and correctly is to practice more and more. Just use your cell phone and record to yourself answering this question and more styles of samples of these questions. Practice more and more. Gradually, you will see that your style of speaking will be enhanced and improved gradually. So this is very important topic too, because you know that practice make perfect, okay? If you revise what we explained now, number 1, you will be showing a reading passage on the screen. You have to take 2 examples or 2 reasons mentioned by the writer here. You have to write them in your notebook as notes, okay? After you take these notes into your notebook, you have also to take notes while you are listening to the audio. This is number 2. 2 examples will be mentioned into the audio. You have to focus on these examples because this example will support your idea when giving example according to the template that we have shown here previously, okay? So now, after the 2 steps, taking notes from the passage, taking notes from the audio, you will go on to speak. You just know that you have just only 30 minutes. What I have to do in this short or limited time, it's a time to prepare from where you have to start and from where you have to put this sentence before this one, organize your ideas covering the whole topic. Everything like this, if you mentioned and prepare what you are going to speak, I think that the result will be very surprising and will be efficient to to answer this question efficiently. Okay, so now I will give you the sample answer to this question according to what we have read into the passage, and also we have listened into the audio. Listen carefully to this answer. According to the reading, leadership is a kind of managing people and things. More specifically, we have two types of leaders. Number one, the instrumental and the expressive leadership. In the lecture, the professor delves deeper into the subject by providing two examples of the leaders. To start, the lecture explained the instrumental leader as she mentioned her leader at the restaurant when she was working as a waitress in a part-time job. He was firm, he gives instructions all time, he didn't give them a chance to talk to each other even there is not any customers, but he was a successful character. She goes on to say that the expressive leader is a role model that treats them well. She mentioned her Professor Green at the university that respects the students, treats them as adults. She goes on to say that they were like an open, honest team. So after listening, I now have a better understanding of what are the types of leaders. As you listened or see on the screen now, it's clear that we have an introductory sentence in the beginning and you have to memorize this template. Moreover, we have to add a transitional sentence between the first introductory and the second one. The second one is to give the first example mentioned by the lecturer, okay? After that, you have to say, she goes on to say, this is a transitional sentence also. And this sentence gives you a transition between the first reason mentioned in the lecture and the second one. So you have to explain after this sentence the second example mentioned by the girl or the woman into the lecture. And after that you finish giving the two examples, you have to conclude your speech and you have to say, now I have a better understanding of blah blah, okay, whatever it was the topic. This is a type of question that you face in your TOEFL Ibt speaking section. So put in your mind that you are as a teacher, work as a teacher, explaining something to others, illustrate it very well, mention the examples from the passage and at the same time from the audio, be clear, make your speech very normal and natural. This is an essential step or characteristic that should be in your speech. That you have to show that you are not hesitated, not anxious, not be confused, okay? So show that you are very normal and natural speaking and you have a flood of ideas, you have no difficulties. Just all of these characteristics and merits will be very easy after practicing more and more. The thing that I would like to make sure about it, it's practice make perfect. Don't forget that and have a nice time. This is Anwar from Smart English. I hope you all success. See you in another video. Goodbye.